Hello and welcome everybody back to Exit Talks. It's been a long time. I'm going to sound very podcasty voice tonight because it's late and I'm trying not to wake anybody. I took a yoga class one time and the instructor, Emily, said that if you hear any sounds, they are just the sounds of life and let them pass by. So if you hear anything in the background, namely my chair creaking or my cat meowing or gallivanting, then just ignore that. I am going to start by offering some disclaimers. Well, a lot of disclaimers because I'm very self critical and I don't like when other people are critical of me, but they haven't listened thoroughly or I've accounted for their criticalness. So let me just offer these. So, first and foremost, although nothing in this is going to be particularly explicit, I am going to give this a 18 plus rating. So please do not listen to this unless you are 18 years of age. Disclaimer number 2, I'm going to offer a trigger warning as I'm going to be talking about body image and body dysmorphia and all that kind of stuff. Who is this episode for? This episode is for primarily gay men and secondarily allies of gay men, family members of gay men. I remember going through some of these ideas with my godmother, for instance, who just wasn't aware of the extent and intricacies of gay dating life and gay dating standards. Like, as a older heterosexual woman, she just couldn't wrap her head around some of the extra things that gay men are critical of or look for. So, if you know someone in your life that you want to understand a little better, maybe consider listening. Next, I just want to say that you are going to hear me reinforcing some of the ideas that I criticize myself, because I psychologically am a product of these gay dating standards. They are deeply ingrained in me, and like all other things, it takes work to unlearn and work to overcome and all that kind of stuff. Lastly, I guess if you are a gay man listening and you feel I am just completely missing the mark and you don't identify with anything I'm saying, or you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound like me at all, if the shoe doesn't fit, that's great. If you feel I am not speaking about you, then maybe this is just simply not for you. So, what are my credentials in speaking on this topic? I have been on gay dating sites since I was 18 years old, and I am 30 now. I've been in a long-term relationship for 4 years. I am unfortunately pretty chronically online. My kids at school criticize me for walking and talking and sounding exactly like TikTok because that's all I do. That's all I have the energy for after work. So I am a part of gay Twitter spaces, gay Instagram spaces, gay TikTok spaces, and I've accumulated this knowledge based on what I've seen. I don't have any quantitative data to present to you, no solid research, but my source is just trust me, bro. I guess my last disclaimer is if you feel that this episode is pretty cynical or pretty negative or pretty hard to listen to, I am going to wrap it all up in a pretty bow at the end, so just stay tuned for that. All right, so it is time to dive in. This episode is A Gay Man Addresses Gay Dating Standards, and I wanted to offer a little bit of an introduction of what inspired me to make this episode. So basically, there are a lot of social media trends that prompt people to post pictures, and just based on my observation, gay men never miss an opportunity to either post a picture of themselves to match these trends, or, especially personally triggering to me, glow-ups. So if you're not familiar with a glow-up, usually it's consisting of a picture before exercise or getting thin, and then obviously the thirst trap ensues in the after post. Now, 2 prompts in particular that inspired me to make this episode are a pre-pandemic and post-pandemic prompt where people post pictures of themselves before the pandemic and now after the pandemic. I say it's triggering to me because before the pandemic, I was the lightest I've ever been, and now post-pandemic, I am the heaviest I've ever been. And I know it's been years and I'm running out of excuses, but that's for another day. The other trend that I've seen lately on TikTok has been you post a photo of younger you saying something to the extent of, I came out 1 month ago. So the picture of you is 1 month post coming out, and then the second picture is coming out 10 years ago. So now you've posted a picture of yourself 10 years after coming out. So, number one, again, seeing positive body transformations, and I guess we'll get into the logistics of that in a second, but they make me feel bad about myself. Every year-end post, people post beginning of 2023 and end of 2023, and I feel bad about myself, and no listener is responsible for me feeling bad about myself, so let's just get that out of the way. Again, this is just my form of expression on the topic. So something really sad happened specifically with the coming out picture trend on TikTok. The first picture was of this like young, flamboyant, I guess young teen or boy, let's say. And I don't know, I think every gay person is different, but before you come out, you kind of understand that there is a certain way to be gay, I guess. And a lot of us think that that means we're going to be flamboyant. I don't, maybe try on makeup, be very out and proud, and that means looking a certain way, and usually that way is feminine. I can speak for myself and say I did want to go through the whole eyeliner phase because it was the late 2000s and that was cool. I wanted to go through a rainbow phase, but I'll always shout out to Sandra, if you're listening, who said maybe don't do that. And long story short, there's no right way to be gay or look gay or whatever, so you don't have to go into all the feminine stuff, but that's neither here nor there. So the first picture would be a pretty, like, just, I guess if I summed it up in one word, it would be individual. An individual with some kind of artistic expression, some kind of makeup, some kind of flamboyance to them. Every before picture told a different story, and I saw myself in those before pictures. And then the after picture. Whether it was 10 months, probably not that short, 10 years, 5 years, whatever, it just seemed was the same cookie cutter image that every gay man was posting of a couple of different, let's say in quotes, improvements. We're going to dive deeper into these in a little bit, but basically they're all toned up and muscular, they're thinner, and they are more masculine. So not only is this a body transformation, but it's a transformation of, and if there's not a better word, feminine and again individual to cookie cutter masculine. Could not pick these men up out of a lineup. So this got me thinking about gay dating standards, gay body standards, and why gay people insist on prescribing to these standards. And again, I can preface, but I think we should just continue to dive in. So that is what inspired me to make this episode. Part 1, the politics of body image. So many people who know me in person know that I've gone on kind of like a political journey. I have branched out. I have started watching a lot of conservative YouTubers, and I really have to like put myself in the right headspace because they sometimes make me upset, and obviously I disagree with them a lot of the time, but definitely since the 2020 election, I've been more critical of my own political party than I feel many people on the right have been of theirs. So I wanted to be well equipped. I did not want to be ignorant. I've said a lot of ignorant things in the past about the right and about conservatives. So this is kind of my journey to read up, hear what other people are saying, hear what heavily followed social media personnels are saying about the conservative side, etc., etc., etc. So one thing that conservatives hate, and this is so funny to me, is fat people and obesity. So go with me on this. I watch a lot of conservative YouTubers who like will be discussing, I don't know, Israel versus Palestine or the trans debate, and then they'll be like, and that's why America's obese too, and obesity is a problem. And as someone on the left, it just always comes so out of left field for conservatives to bring up obesity, but it is something that they're passionate about. Um, and it's funny to me because it's like people on the left I feel like are just minding their own business, and conservative people come in and be like, but and you this and you that, and how you're doing things are wrong, like whether they're trans or whether they're fat. So again, I don't know, this, don't take this as an all-encompassing thing, but it's something that I've noticed, that like conservatives have obesity on the docket. All right, so with that being said, I want to introduce the discussion of beauty versus health and good versus bad, right? So there's a lot of debate about, quote, fat influencers or fat influencers on social media who promote this, quote, again, body positivity movement, unquote. And it's something that conservatives have a lot of problem with because they feel that it is disingenuous, it is not factual, and that fat bodies are unhealthy, and that the body positive movement is promoting bad habits and, you know, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of discourse with plus size models, and especially like really, you know, fat plus size models. And there's a couple things that I just wanted to contribute to this discussion myself. You know, with any kind of political debate, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. You can't look at a fat person and just assume that they're unhealthy based on the way that they look. I know the conservatives that I watch would contend on me with that and just say that fit and skinny is the default. There actually was a Jubilee. There's actually been several Jubilee episodes. If you don't know what Jubilee is, it's a channel on YouTube that does like debates, like fat influencers versus, you know, model influencers. And then they did like, I think they did like a fat and skinny people episode. And, you know, one of the things is the skinny people are not necessarily healthy just because they're skinny. They eat things that they shouldn't. They just have really fast metabolisms, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess the baseline of this debate would be that skinny or fat is not a baseline of someone's health, and you can make assumptions, but it really, in my opinion, is none of your business. But the thing that's more dangerous in this debate is when we start to equate the beauty versus health debate with good versus bad, and starting to say things like fat people are bad and obesity is bad and obese lifestyles are bad and, you know, skinny is good and all this kind of stuff. So I think inherently seeing something as good or bad, it already bleeds into the social media perception of dating standards or looks, because someone sees someone who's bigger and they don't think that, oh, that person can both look really good and also be bigger. Those two things can exist at the same time. But, oh, big is bad and I don't like bad, I like good. So that is kind of a way to narrow your dating kind of preferences. Now, interestingly enough, I find that conservatives and liberals are both at fault in the kind of fat skinny debate, for different reasons. As I've said, you've kind of got the conservative hard truth. That's what conservatives brand themselves on. They'll tell you like it is. They'll give it to you factual. Facts, right? You're fat. Fat is unhealthy. Those are the cold, hard facts. Sorry if you don't like to hear them. That's the way it is. It just is. It's human science. It's blah, 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 blah. But liberals kind of fall into this trap, this liberal fantasy, and I'm trying to be as fair as possible because sometimes liberals use this fantasy to detach themselves to reality, or from, and there again has to be a happy medium. What both sides lack, in my opinion, regarding this matter is compassion. Okay, You're on the right, someone's fat, someone's unhealthy. It's just the way it is. But have some compassion. There's a human there that has some kind of circumstance, whatever it is, you don't know it. You can care for that person. You can be kind to that person. Just because you have these opinions doesn't mean you have to be cruel, right? But liberals kind of lack compassion when fat people know that they're fat, and liberals will say, "Oh my God, no, you're not. Oh my God, no, you're so beautiful." And on the other side of the horseshoe, it's like, I can be beautiful and I can be fat. Those two things can exist. And I almost wonder, and I know, of course, the liberals who say this don't mean anything bad by it, but it's like, I can be both. You know that, right? It's not one or the other. Like, I can acknowledge that I'm factually big and I can look good at the same time. You telling me that I'm not big, and fill in the blank here, I'm improvising. But if you know something to be true about yourself, you're not delusional, you're actually very self-reflective, and someone goes, "Oh my God, no, 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 that's not it at all," right? That can be hurtful as well. So if you're a liberal listening to this, have some compassion. Acknowledge that this person is not unaware. This person is very aware of themselves. And you may not look at them and think fat, but it may be a fact, right? So just because you don't see it or don't acknowledge it doesn't mean it's not real. So this leads into kind of the last debate on this topic, self-esteem versus reality. Again, just kind of speaking to me stating a fact about myself may or may not be self-deprecating. Me stating a fact about myself that maybe you perceive as negative or you perceive as bad does not indicate that I have low self-esteem. Again, that's kind of a criticism of liberals by conservatives, is that liberals are diffused from reality, right? So I think we all just need to be a little more realistic and accepting in that regard. You can be big, you can be beautiful. Health may or may not be a factor in that. So that's the introduction of kind of the issue of self-image and body standards in general. I want to now kind of move into gay-specific dating standards, and I want to start by introducing what I think are weighted categories of gay marketability. So there's different tiers, there's different levels of traits that gay people consider in partners. And in my opinion, at the top, there are 4 traits that rise above all else, that if someone has them, it weighs heavily in their favor. If someone's missing them, obviously, it might just be a flat out rejection. So, and this is all my opinion, this is not based on fact or research. The 4 traits that gay people weigh most heavily, that they value the most, are age, race, body type, and masculinity. Age. In most cases, not all, in most cases, there is a preference for younger men. And once you start getting to a certain decade, now this is, I don't know, I'm not a math person, but it's the part of the graph that starts to vary. But when you turn 30, some gays drop off and aren't interested in you. When you turn 40, some gays drop off and aren't interested in you. It really is a matter of personal preference what someone considers old or young. But in my opinion, there's a pretty well unspoken consensus on what constitutes young and what constitutes not young. Based on my observations alone, I would say that young is about 18 to 24. And this is going to be a controversial and very big, unsubstantiated claim, but I would say that 99% of gay men who are on dating sites would go for someone between the ages of 18 and 24. Now, why 24 specifically? People indicate in their profiles what they are and aren't interested in. Age usually makes the cut for biographies. guys will start to say things like no one over 24, no one over 25, no one over 30, etc., etc., etc. It is perfectly fine for people to have dating preferences, but my point is that there is a sweet spot of age that most gay people are interested in, and as you get older, which is unavoidable, the marketability does decrease. You can be an older man with a six pack and really, really gorgeous and like seriously like magazine cover, but for some gays, age will be one of the non negotiables. The second trait is race. Now, this is not my place to discuss as I'm white and I have not encountered this issue, but I have seen dozens, if not hundreds, of gay men on dating sites saying specifically that they are not interested in X race. And again, take the age thing that I just said into account. You can have everything. You can be beautiful. You can be young. You could be magazine cover. But if you are black or Asian or Hispanic, some guys that will be their non-negotiable. And that is where we get to the tricky intersection of preference and prejudice. And unfortunately, like I said, it's just not my place to kind of go any deeper in that. It's just one of the most important factors I see regarding the marketability of gays. The third trait at the top is masculinity, and I did kind of already talk about this before, but men who present as more masculine, who look more masculine, whatever that means, fill in the blank, that's one of those tricky societal things that we can't necessarily pin down a definition of masculine, yet there is still a consensus among gays of what masculine is and what it isn't. So there are plenty of gay men on social media who are very clearly feminine. Maybe they're wearing makeup, maybe they do drag, maybe they're trans, etc. Masculinity is going to affect marketability, and the more masculine men are typically going to be preferred over feminine men. The last of the big four traits of gay marketability is what this episode is about, and it is body image. If I had to answer the question, are all gay men attracted to the same body type? I would have to say yes. I would say 99% of gay men would go for someone that meets the following requirements. On a spectrum between thin, even scrawny, and bodybuilder muscular, is this sweet spot, I would say toned. If I had to sum up the gay ideal body type, it would be toned. Not too muscular. If you're a bodybuilder and your whole body is muscular, that's a turnoff to some guys. If you're really thin and scraggly and skinny, that can be a turnoff. But think like underwear aisle, men's underwear models. That is, in my opinion, what 99% of gay men would go for. Now, is that the only type they would go for? No. But my hypothesis is, like I said, you ask 99 out of 100 gay men, they would go for that body type. Now, there are social media platforms for guys of different body types. I'm talking mainly about bears and bigger guys. And bigger guys can have successful careers as models or adult content creators. And even on this site, they can be very popular, the site that is geared specifically toward that body type. But on average, the thinner, toned, muscular, gay social media personality is going to have more followers. And again, I hate to bring in race, but if an Asian gay male model has 1 million followers, that is an anomaly. And 1 million's a big number, but just go with me on this. If a black gay man has 1 million followers, maybe there's just a handful of others. If a fat gay man, I don't think they're ever going to have 1 million gay followers, but if they have, 500,000, they still are an outlier. If you look at traits of male social media personalities and followers, I guarantee you would find a trend that the most gay men with the most followers are going to be white, toned, younger, and masculine. Again, if there's a few feminine gays who are up there with followers, it still is not going to be as common as that top 4. Even on this platform for bigger men, there are some popular male influencers, I'm saying all of this very PG, who are on that site too. And guess what? They still have as many or more as the big guys. And this is a platform for big guys. So that's what I'm trying to say. So in a way, I feel like the gay experience is unique because there is only one way the glove fits. There is only one body type that is seen as the standard, and I see beautiful, beautiful, beautiful men who 99% of gays would say are the standard, say that they themselves don't meet the standard. Maybe they're not muscular enough, maybe they're too muscular, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I know that straight men and definitely straight women struggle with body images, and I would argue too that probably women have a one size glove, and that is, Victoria's Secret models. But when it comes to straight dating, I think women are harder on themselves than they need to be. That's just my personal opinion, and we live in a patriarchy, and that could probably be very easily proven wrong. But you have X% of the population that are gay men that all are looking to meet this one criteria. Even worse, 99% of gay men are attracted to this body type, and some, that is the only body type they're attracted to, regardless of how they themselves look and present. I'll get into that a little more later. Now, aside from the big 4 main factors that I mentioned, many other factors come secondary to those main 4. Let's say face. I know a lot of people assume that a face is very important, but if a gay man has the body, the age, the masculinity, etc., and they don't have the best face, they are going to soar to the top of, the hierarchy. Face is a secondary trait that gays look for when dating. And I know I sound shallow myself in saying that, but again, we're just on this journey together, so we're going to hang tight. Another secondary trait is equipment size. Again, all of these things come secondary to the top 4. One example that epitomizes my theory here is there is a gorgeous male model on social media, and I'm not going to say who it is, but they have 300,000 Instagram followers and they have 1.5 million TikTok followers. And his face is gorgeous. He looks kind of like a combination of Henry Cavill's face and Patrick Dempsey's face, with a bit more like kind of bigger doe Disney Pixar eyes. He is beautiful, and his whole claim to fame is that he went from fat to skinny, and now he's a fat to skinny social media influencer, and his popularity soared. Obviously, you just heard about the social media stats that I gave you, and that creates a narrative that I don't like, in my opinion. He was just as gorgeous fat as he is thin and muscular, because in his case, he was blessed by genetics and has just a gorgeous face. So this narrative that it's good that he became skinny and muscular, and now he blew up on social media and he's celebrated because he got skinnier, that's where I take issue. Now, again, here is another paradox of body image. We should genuinely be happy for people who go on this fitness journey, who strive to better themselves and get in shape. And again, in shape does not equate look. I am not going to crap on guys who want to turn their life around. Absolutely, that should be celebrated. But there is this underlying reinforcement of my theory here that I can't shake. Why does he have so many followers? And so, that's a huge platform just because of his looks. But he couldn't have that when he was bigger. And I don't know. I just show your bigger former self, but don't talk bad about it. Maybe don't even use that as the focal point for your quote improvement unquote. Celebrate that you looked amazing beforehand, but celebrate that you got into shape and you exercise. Again, this qualifier shouldn't be looks, and this particular man is the biggest example of everything I've just said, and hopefully when I listen to this back, I've explained it as I think it in my head. So how do we measure attractiveness? How do we know that there is a consensus of a certain type? Maybe we can't all agree on exactly what makes up the ideal standard, but in my opinion, this is what dictates attractiveness. I'm going to just say period in general. Do social media and likes and engagement equal worth and attractiveness? This is very shallow of me to say, but I am saying yes. Social media likes and engagement show what the general public thinks of your looks and your talent. To stray away from looks in case people are feeling too bad, I want to talk about singing. The way I was brought up and praised and celebrated for my singing, I truly thought I was going to be the next American Idol, and I was born in 1993, so American Idol was hip when I was growing up. It was a learning process to learn that I was not the best singer. Again, this is that reality versus self-esteem that I was talking about earlier. Just because I'm making that statement doesn't mean I have low self-esteem. I think I'm a good singer. I really like my own voice. And actually, many years ago, I had a parent in a parent-teacher conference. She came to me and said, well, my daughter thinks she's going to be the next big star. But I said to her, honey, there's no one knocking on our door looking for you to sing. And that kind of changed my perspective too. I was like, yeah, if you are this prodigy, the fame will come to you, like Justin Bieber and Shawn Mendes and Tori Kelly, who just was on Vine and she got famous from, being a singer on the internet. So there is merit, there is worth to what other people think about you. I had to come to the realization that I wasn't going to be on a singing competition show or have a record deal or all that kind of stuff. In my opinion, the same goes for looks. My posts don't go viral. My posts don't get hundreds of likes. This is shallow for me to say, but I have noticed that people with a lot of likes deserve those likes. They have those likes for a reason. It's pretty rare for you to look at someone with a following and really just wonder to yourself, why do they have this following? Okay? And we live in a day and age where anybody at home can be an influencer, and you can get famous and rich by being beautiful. Okay? Now I'm talking about a different internet personality than the one before. This one has, Jesus, I just looked at it too, 15 million followers on TikTok, and he is one of the highest paid solo adult content creators of all time. And you look at him and you know why. You know why. He is gorgeous, right? So a lot of gay men on Twitter have thousands of followers, and they have to post themselves shirtless at the least. But a lot of gay people post naked pictures on Twitter. People post naked pictures on Twitter. That's not why we're here. But you don't get that following without showing the goods. And for some reason, a lot of gay people are compelled to get this validation. And we are not here to slut shame, but these people feel apparently that their headshots, their Instagram friendly photos, are not giving them the kind of validation, the kind of following, the kind of interaction, the kind of engagement that they're looking for. So I know my posts are not getting likes and clicks, and it makes me feel bad about myself. And I can see how it can make a lot of other people feel bad about themselves too. And then, what they just chase after that validation. Now, I hope I haven't lost you yet. I hope I haven't sounded just like a hollow, shallow shell of, making you feel bad about yourself too, if you relate. There is a difference between inner worth and outer worth. Your outer worth may very well be determined by social media likes, but don't let that disintegrate your inner worth. Ideally, you'll have enough self-esteem and self-confidence and enough real connections in your life and real relationships that you don't need internet validation to make you feel good about yourself. And so what? You look good. You have love in your life. That validation doesn't have to come from social media. Are you marketable as America's next top model like some of these influencers are? No, but that's reality. So that you're not going to be on the cover of, I don't even know magazines. I'm going to say Playboy. I know that's raunchy. But it doesn't matter. You don't need to be on the cover of that magazine. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense, but there is a difference between inner and outer worth, and I do think there is some validity to social media and how that equates to what other people think of you. Now I want to talk about why I am not going to the gym. And it's so hard to ask people to be empathetic or sympathetic of me because truly I am my own worst enemy. Going to the gym and getting fit is a mental game just as much as it is a physical game. And honey, I am losing the mental game, and I have been losing the mental game for the last 5 years. All right. So that's neither here nor there. So, there's this talk of if you're not happy with your body, change it. I have a problem with that kind of thinking. I don't think my self-esteem comes only from myself. I think a lot of people would argue that of course it does. But I think I am fairly reinforced that I am out of shape and not good looking by all of the previous things that I've stated and, the factors that I'm missing, etc., etc. So I see these gay people turn into carbon cookie cutter copies of themselves for various reasons. If the reason is health, good for you. I see gay people do this strictly to increase the pool of people that want to have sex with them. I don't think I have to say that there is a correlation between looks and sexual appeal. Like I said, those Instagram models probably have a lot of access. It is unfortunate. I think the gay community as a whole is shallow enough to have that be all that they're chasing is sex. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But I know some people who go to the gym and are not happy going to the gym. Their self-esteem is still terrible. Their before picture of before they started getting healthy and going to the gym is thinner, leaner, more toned than any after picture of mine will ever be. Many of us will look at this picture and say, you are the body standard, but that person themselves will still have low self-esteem. This is the scenario that I myself want to avoid. It takes mental work, and you have to make sure you're going to the gym for the right reason. If you don't do the mental work, it doesn't matter what your body looks like, you will always be unhappy. And it's really damaging to me to see what I would consider the gay beauty standard talk so badly about themselves. Because, honey, if you think you're fat and you think you're this and you think you're that, I can only imagine what you think of me. So we have to look at the difference between healthy habits and disordered eating and body dysmorphia. Celebrate being healthy and making healthier changes. Your body, your image of your body is not reliable. Why are we getting fit? Why are all of these gay men shedding their individualism to be a cookie cutter image of each other? And the answer is a lot of gay guys are only interested in hot people and that body type. Even people who don't look like that themselves. Now, please give me the benefit of the doubt, okay? I'm going to be a little judgy. You would be surprised how high standards people have with how they look. I'm going to say it like this. They have New York City and LA standards in small town New York. What does that mean for you if you are looking for an LA model and you will not settle for less in a small town? And when those LA people come back for the holidays, their social media is blown up by all the local hopefuls who are just like mouthwatering at this fresh meat. If you're looking for a hookup, how long are you planning on lasting in bed? Because a lot of you are not going to last more than 5 minutes. You need an LA model for 5 minutes? You can't adjust your standard to small town New York. I'm getting ahead of myself, but long story short, I have been rejected for the most asinine reasons, and I have enough self-esteem to ask myself, Jesus, if I'm not good enough for you for 5 minutes in this moment, I'm not sure what you're looking for. So there's a shallowness and there's a short-sightedness in the gay community. I think even a lot of gay men who are looking for long-term relationships, they number one aren't ready, but subconsciously they don't realize that they aren't looking for relationships, because how many guys say that they want something more, but there's a pattern and all they do is have one night stands, and they've been single for 6 years on social media, but they're still looking for love. Now, no knock, because I know that true love is really hard to come by, but in some people you see these patterns that you think to yourself and you scratch your head and you go, are you sure about that? Right? So I want to end this episode on a positive note. I want to give some advice that has been passed to me and that I'm going to pass along to you regarding gay body standards and dating. Number one, assess your own standards and assess your standards based on your location. What's important to you in a partner? So many gays will reject someone based on the most arbitrary thing. Now, if all you're looking for is sex, that's one thing. But you cannot be looking for a romantic partner and strictly hang that up on he needs a six-pack. He needs a six-pack. Otherwise, I can't date that person. If looks are all that's important to you in a prospective partner, that will not sustain. Looks can change, all right? So assess your standards, think about what you want in a partner, and exude that, project that. Number two, set boundaries and respect yourself. Don't let guys keep you waiting all day just for them to ghost or flake. Your time is valuable. One of the worst dates I ever went on was actually at the height of my fitness, and he spent the whole date trying to get away from me and trying to end the day and lying to me about what was going on. And I only realized this in retrospect, but it was a really, really, really bad date. And my godmother, shout out Karen, I went to her and I said, "What is wrong with me? I'm doing everything I was supposed to do. I'm going to the gym and all that kind of stuff." And she said, his treatment of you should be a turnoff to you. That's disgusting. That behavior that 23-year-old balding chem major was exuding towards me. Ugh. Why would I be interested or hung up on someone who treated me like that? Don't let a 5'7" balding guy decide your worth for you. Okay? Ideally, don't let anyone decide your worth for you, but this is just a small step you can take. I think, I'm preaching to not be judgmental, but by being judgmental, you can kind of assess that some of these people have no business making you feel bad about yourself. Number 3, I personally have always been of the mind that it's either gonna work, it was always going to work, or it was never going to work. It's one or the other. So don't beat yourself up about the life you could have had together. And as gay people listen, I know we have one brush of the arm and we're like starting to plan weddings and our life together and all that kind of stuff. Because you were never going to have that life together because he wasn't the one for you. I'm not trying to preach you through heartbreak because your feelings are valid, but we get hung up on what could have been, and the reality was it was never going to be. It never could be. He just wasn't the right one for you. The last piece of advice I want to give to escape this cycle is when you do fall in love and you do have a fruitful relationship, you can go back through and delete everything that was said in this episode except this last part. All of the body standards, all of the gay dating standards, all of these superficial and shallow benchmarks that we set for ourselves go away. When you find the person for you, all of that disappears and none of it matters. I never could have expected that to be the case. It was beyond my wildest dreams that I'm with someone who loves me no matter my size, because it's not about my size, it's about me. And you are preaching. Listen, I'm the choir preaching, okay? I spent 26 years of my life single. No man gave me a chance, even for 1 second, to be in a relationship. I got in my first real relationship when I was 26, and I've been in that relationship for 4 years. You may be listening to this and thinking, it's not that easy. I'm never going to find someone. I'm going to be alone forever. Trust me, I was there. And not for nothing, if this relationship doesn't work out, I will be okay because I experienced all of the stuff that I never thought I could experience. And I have faith that if it didn't work out, I would experience it again, because life has shown me that there is someone for me that will love me no matter what. And when you have that and when you feel that, all of the superficial stuff goes away. Again, I hope I wasn't too preachy. I hope I wasn't too hypocritical. You know all my little disclaimers. This was just a platform for me to get out what I myself was feeling, my poetry, my writing, my expression, get it out, get it off my chest. I hope some of you found some of this information useful. I thank you so much for listening, and I hope you look forward to hearing more from Exitox. Bye.